Sir Alvin. We were together in provincial government. That's why I was wondering earlier, bakit ka nandito? You should be there, provincial capital. Anyway, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First off, I'd like to extend my sincerest appreciation to our tourism officer for having me here this morning, of course, with the efforts of our colleagues of the provincial government. Of course, we have here also with us Sir Ting Vecino. Just to give you a little background about Ting, way back more than 10 years ago, we were together trying to revolutionize the awareness of the people of Camarines Norte regarding the uniqueness and the richness and the world-class culture and history that this town has. No? Why did I say world-class? Actually, I have a paper which I haven't published yet. It's entitled Camarines Norte, its tapestry of culture. And I put there in my article that in Camarines Norte you can find the most distinct culture and history in Visayas, which you cannot find in Gaet, in Paracale, in Lapo, elsewhere, and elsewhere in the province. No? So we have here in Vincent, not because I'm from Vincent also, but because I think God so blessed Vincent that you possess those sui generis qualities which make you a cut above the rest in terms of richness of culture and history. I would say that you're so blessed because I have been through all the municipalities. I have written the history of the province already, yet to be published. Right now, I'm in the process of publishing something about the Black Nazarene devotion in Capalanga. So the culture of Vincent still stands out to be very excellent, very unique, and one of a kind in the province. You might say, maybe because your parents are Vincent. Yeah, that's true. You didn't grow up in Vincent, I didn't grow up here, My parents came from Vincent. My father was at the Victoria Vincent Elementary School, and first valedictorian in Vincent Father High School. So Faustino Quinito, that was a cousin of Quinito Vincent. But, it's not because of that. It's because that Vincent really has a very, very colorful character in terms of culture. That's why, a few days ago, I was invited by Bob Lawrence to be here. I really didn't know what to talk about because I have plenty of lectures now in my arsenal. I have lectures about the establishment of the museum education, culture, history, and so on and so on. But then my friend, Toto, wala pa ako natin si Toto, came up with a PowerPoint presentation about this. Of course, with the able help of another staff of mine, si Miles away there. So that's why I said, okay, I should be here. And you might ask, what's the origin of your interest about museum? Actually, nothing. I never thought in my entire life that one day I would be working as a museum worker, as a museum curator. But when I started working here in the way back, I established the Provincial Museum because there was a museum here at the time. It was year 2000. And I also organized the so-called Bicol Association of Museums. I was the first president of the Bicol Association of Museums. That's why for like
7 years or so, I was part of the National Committee on Museums under the National Commission for Culture and the Arts. I was working with the NCCA. We were the ones granting those endowments being given to different museums, different entities nationwide. Because the funding of the National Commission for Culture and the Arts in terms of its NEFCA, the National Endowment Fund for Culture and Arts, is amounting to like 27 billion per year, not coming from the GAA or the General Appropriations Act, but coming from the travel taxes, from the airports nationwide. That's how we were able to raise funds for the NCCA, because that is the mandate of NCCA, as expressed and stated in its in the law that created NCCA in 1991. And so I was part of, granting largesse for the various cultural entities in this country for many years. And later, when I started tourism, I was the first tourism officer. And before, when I was starting this endeavor of organizing the tourism office, the provincial government was no tourism officer anywhere in Manila except me. So I would go around different municipalities and would lecture about tourism for 2 hours or so in different Sangguniang bayans province-wide. I would ask for an appointment with the vice mayor or the municipality, and I would go there just to give them a background of what tourism is all about. I was never a graduate of tourism. Mount Florence is, he is tourism graduate from UP Diliman. She's a Pisay also from Diliman, alumna of Pisay. They're more knowledgeable than I am, no? But okay, we started tourism, and also I organized the Bicol Tourism Officers Association, Bicol Association of Tourism Officers before. I was the first president of the Bicol Association of Museums, and I was the first president of the Bicol Association of Tourism Officers, Bato. I was the one who organized that. And I tried to get in touch with the FITOA and the Philippine Tourism Officers Association. That's how I started. But then I was telling the people at the tourism sector that make no mistake about it, culture is a lot bigger in terms of sphere of influence and scope than tourism. They interface in certain aspects, but culture existed long before tourism came. True or not? Long before tourism arrived in the consciousness of the Filipinos, there was already the presence of culture. Where do we get culture? Well, from the people, from the natives, from the day-to-day existence of individuals. Culture is something that is more encompassing. Culture is a composite of so many concepts. It's not just history, it's not just legends, it's not just folklore, it's not just artifacts, it's not just the past. Culture is the way of living and thinking. Culture is the way we make a world view in our environment. Culture is who we are. That's culture. And then, how do we differentiate culture from heritage? Actually, heritage is just a part of culture. Because heritage is a concept which refers to something that can be inherited. It came from the word inheritance. Heritage. So it is something that is being handed down to us. It is something that we inherit from older generation. So that's heritage. So you might ask, do we inherit culture? Yes, we do. Do we inherit history? Yes, we do. No? That's why part of heritage is history. But part of heritage is also art. Part of heritage is also music. Part of heritage is also architecture. Part of heritage is also engineering. Part of heritage is also medical science. Part part of heritage is also philosophy and many other aspects. So, you have their culture, a huge sphere, and there are smaller components within culture. You have their heritage, and in the concept of heritage, you have several other sub-concepts. And also part of culture, I have another lecture for this actually. This is another 7 slides. Part of culture is tourism. Huh? So you try to inveigle your visitors, you try to invite. What is tourism by the way? Tourism is nothing but promoting visit to your place. Because in the process, if people would visit your place, then it would create an economic activity. And that is the real tourism. The economics of tourism means that you create not just an impression, not just an image, but tourism means that you create wealth, you create jobs, you create investments, you create businesses, establishments sprout like mushrooms all over. What's tourism? Huh? So, you're going to ask me, are all these concepts interrelated? Not just interrelated, but they are intertwined. They affect each other and they depend on each other. So, your tourism will be as good as how you spread an awareness about your culture, how you manage your museum, how you try to infect the society with an awareness of the goodness of the people of interest. Why? Because your tourists will not come in here if your people are not even aware of who they are, their identity, their culture, and they will not come here if they don't have the necessary values and character that the tourists are looking for. Why people keep on going to Bohol in many of their museums? In Tagbilaran City alone, there are so many museums. No? Why do they keep on traveling 2 hours away from Tagbilaran to get to Chocolate Hills? No? Anybody here have been to Chocolate Hills before? No? I've been there 4 times. So, it could take them 2 hours to get there because they have good people there. Because the people of Bohol are smiling people. Because the people of Bohol are courteous, kind, polite. They have the values which are the word with us in order to boost tourism. Alam niyo po ba nung nasa Bohol, I kept on riding the tricycle. One occasion, I was in the tourism office of the province. It was a long time ago, more than 10 years ago. And then every time I would alight on the tricycle, I would be told by the driver, "Salamat po, thank you sir." And I was kind of intrigued. Why is it that every time I would get on the tricycle, they would say thank you to me? And then I couldn't help but ask the tricycle driver, why are all tricycle drivers here, saying thank you to me every time we get on your tricycle? Kasi po programa po yung city government. Lahat po kami tricycle driver dito, we are being trained to say thank you to our passengers, whether you are a local or you are a tourist, a traveler, or a visitor. Ganun po yun. So, character pa rin importante. Kaya ano po yung isang officer ako, binibig ko yan, sasalita ako sa mga toga sa dagat. Kasi, alam niyo po, may kaibigan ako, taga Manila. Sisimba siya. Simbahan ng dagat is just 1 kilometer away from the Lord Hotel. He was staying in the Lord Hotel at the time. The Lord Hotel was his living. Pumunta sa simbahan ng dagat, sinigil siya ng 50 pesos. At the time, ang pamasahe ko was only 5 pesos. Kasi nagtatagalog, siguro na ulinigan, na tulugan, na kapag itong driver na, hindi taga-dagat, araw ko yung lulubo ko yung sasarap ko. So instead of, treating your visitors well, you make a killing out of your income, out of your, tricycle fare, and then in the process, you kill tourism. In the process, you are committing a bloody murder of your tourism industry. Kaya sabi ko, importante po sa lahat, in promoting tourism would be value. eto ka, nagsuswimming ka doon sa Bagastos Beach, iniiwan mo yung gamit mo, may backpack ka, may napso ka, may cellphone ka doon sa loob, pati sinelas. Swimming ka doon, isang oras, pagbalik mo, wala na si cellphone, wala na si sinelas mo maganda, wala na, natira na lang yung backpack, buti hindi pa pinag-interesan. Nangyari po yan. Sa isang bisita namin. Nakakasuko. What a shame. So, I still believe that you are interested, and if you're interested in, promoting your plays, then it is extremely primordial that people should be aware of the thrust of the local government, the thrust of the tourism sector. That you are not there because you just want to, to waste time and take it easy. No, you are there because you are trying to do your job seriously. That's very important. That's why, when this was being established, I was told by regional director then, Ramon said it, we're friends, we're good friends. That's why lately I recommended him to be given an award for Natatanging Outstanding Citizen Award of the province. Such an outstanding person, si Ramon, who's from Vinzons. He's a very good guy. He worked his way up. He started from the ranks as an ordinary classroom teacher before, and eventually made it big in the department, and now is the asset of the DepEd. Now, when we were discussing the establishment of this building as a museum, as a locus of museum, then he asked me, how are we going to transform this structure into a museum? I told him, it's like this. If you are interested to have some models for the establishment of an old building into a world-class museum, then you might as well go to Mabini Shrine. Mabini Shrine is located like 2 kilometers away from the town proper of Tanawan, Batangas. You can see there the site where Mabini was born. And it so happened that the old building of DPWH of Lobago is still there, and the National Historical Commission of the Philippines transformed the DPWH building into a Mabini museum, which is, to say the least, impressive in all aspects. Because it's high-tech. They have introduced, a high technology sort of museology there. So not just displays, but they have interactive televisions. They have video presentations in all their galleries. So the main gallery talks about Mabini. They have several artifacts there, several memorabilia on display, the books written by Mabini, and so forth and so on. And when you go to different galleries, there are 7 galleries in both first and second floors. You can see in every gallery the stage of life of Apolinario Mabini. Different stages of life. When he was, as a young student during the Spanish period, under the tutorship of, I forgot what prince was that. And then when he graduated, because at that time there was no elementary school. During the Spanish period, only the rich were able to study. Because there was no public school system in the Philippines at the time. And the schools were basically being organized by the priests, by the pura parroco. That's why only the privileged ones had a chance. However, wonder of wonders, Mabini didn't come from a rich family. He came from humble beginnings, no? But he was able to study because he had an uncle who supported him to study basic elementary education. So he was able to read and write. But of course, another wonder of wonders, Mabini developed his intelligence to high heavens and became one of the towering intellectuals in the history of the Philippines. That's why Aguinaldo, when he read the philosophy of Philippine revolutionary government written by Mabini, Aguinaldo said, "Can you please look for this guy, the author of this? I want him to be an advisor of my government."
That's why on June 12, 1898, before the scene, the first time that the Philippine National Anthem was sung at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Mabini arrived in the house of Ginaldo. And he was carried in a hog by the revolutionary firebrands of Aguinaldo. Binidbid lang siya, naglakad sila sa Tanawan hanggang doon sa Kawit. They traveled for almost like a day just to walk. Because, it was a revolution. It was a war time. No? So, they were able to present the life of Mabini. No? Until such time that he was studying in UST, and how they were able to deconstruct the philosophy of Mabini in terms of governance, in terms of revolution, in terms of war. Mabini was very brilliant. Nakakatalino ni Mabini. That's why he never submitted to the Americans until such time that he was exiled by the Americans, right, to Guam, and there he died. No? Not of syphilis, but because he was afflicted with polio. No? His polio got worse. Because the chismis at the time, he died of syphilis, no? Which was a venereal, sexually transmitted disease. No, because Mabini never had a girlfriend. So that was pure gossip history. No? And in 1981, the Orthopedic Hospital of the Philippines, in Banao, in Quezon City, they tried to exhume the bones of Mabini and they studied it. And they said, doctors and experts said, specialists, Mabini died not of syphilis, but of polio. That's why in the movie El Presidente, Mabini was always sitting on a chair because he didn't walk. Diba? So they were able to transform the old, decrepit, dilapidated building of DPWH into a world-class Mabini Shrine. And I want you to have a travel to Mabini Shrine one of these days. That will be the next project of Mount Lawrence. Ako naman natin. Anyway, sige, toto.